Welcome, students. Welcome to Introduction to Caribbean Studies. I am Professor Felix. I'm happy to take you on this journey uh, to explore the Caribbean. Caribbean studies is a growing area of the social sciences. It is one of the newer areas because traditionally Caribbean studies um, were tagged along with Latin American studies. So, for example, a course will be called Latin American and Caribbean Studies, but at the end of the course, students will realize that there was very little that they learned about the Caribbean section of the Latin American studies. And so, this is one of the things that we hope to bridge in this course. We hope to emphasize the smaller territories of Latin America and the Caribbean and to have you understand the wider Caribbean in a more complex uh, manner. One of my colleagues, in fact, Professor Paul Clement at FIT now, um, wanted to get his PhD degree in the field of Caribbean studies and could not find a specialist in the field as his mentor. So that kind of like inspired him to develop this field of Caribbean studies here at FIT. Now, him having gotten his PhD, he wants to make sure that other students, students now, he's no longer a student, um, but students understand, have a better understanding of the Caribbean, and to develop, perhaps their scholarship in the direction that he went. As a relatively small region, the Caribbean has immensely impacted the world. But it's also important to understand that the world has hugely impacted the Caribbean. So these two interrelated dynamics is what we are going to be concerned with in this course. I will start with a quote from someone from the Caribbean who has spent his life thinking about the Caribbean reality and has received international recognition in doing so. Sir Arthur Lewis, a Nobel Prize laureate from the Caribbean island of St. Lucia, says that the Caribbean has made an impact on world culture far in excess of the size of its population. And again, this is Sir Arthur Lewis, one of two Nobel Prize laureates from the island, the island of St. Lucia, one of the smallest islands in the world. And you can see here on the map where St. Lucia is located. You can hardly see it on the map, but the impact is lasting. So so Arthur Lewis is, well. First of all, what is the Nobel Prize? The Nobel Prize is an annual recognition from the Scandinavian country of Norway in recognition of people that have made impacts in terms of helping humanity. And this Nobel Prize came about as the part of the will from someone by the name of Mr. Nobel from Norway. Now, I'm not going to get into detail about this particular um, uh, prize, but you can research it on your own. The point being that the Caribbean has had four Nobel Prize for such a small region. This is a huge impact, and it speaks to the extent to which the Caribbean has impacted the world. Apart from Sir Arthur Lewis, the Caribbean is the source of at least four Nobel Prize recipients. St. John Pierce of Guadeloupe, literature in 1960. Derek Walcott, as mentioned before, from St. Lucia, literature in 1992, and the aforementioned Sir Arthur Lewis, economics 1979, but also V.S. Naipaul of Trinidad and Tobago, who got the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2001. But one can easily add Gabriel Garcia Marquez of Colombia in literature 1982, who claims a Caribbean heritage coming from Cartagena in in Colombia. And so the point is even more salient when you consider that the Caribbean subregion is only about 6 million people. If you think beyond the Commonwealth Caribbean and include the Rimland countries, we are still only talking about 44 million people. So less than 0.6% of the world's population, but as I said before, a huge collective impact. In addition to producing such writers and intellectuals of international reputation, the Caribbean has made an indelible contribution to global fashion and the performing arts. Caribbean aesthetics is distinguishable worldwide. Example, Trinidadian carnival designer Peter Minchell was one of the major designers of the Barcelona Olympics, the Atlanta Olympics, the Pan African Games, the Winter Olympics, etc. So 500 years after the Europeans awkwardly stumbled upon the Caribbean and planted their flags, the various Caribbean flags are being raised in many cities around the world based on the contribution of Caribbean individuals. You can see here just one example of the Caribbean presence in the United States in particular. So the Caribbean presence in major metropolitan centers in North America and Europe has profound economic, political, and commercial significance. In New York City, for example, the annual West Indian Parade, the Puerto Rican Festival, the Dominican Parade, the Colombian parades are the city's largest street festivals individually. Likewise, the Nottingham Carnival in the UK is the largest European street festival. The Toronto Carnival is Canada's largest festival. This reflects an established and growing Caribbean presence in these cities. This has prompted Jamaican cultural icon and poet Louise Bennett to proclaim a colonialism in reverse. What she means by this is that, the Caribbean presence in these major uh, metropolitan centers is a reversal of the earlier period of colonialism where these Europeans had settled in various Caribbean countries and dominated life. So it's a bit of an exaggeration in terms of colonialism and its reverse, but I think she's using this as a strong symbolism in terms of the Caribbean presence in these countries. Now, I present this dialectics of relatively small size and disproportionate influence from the start because it speaks to two important issues of Caribbean reality that we're going to explore in this course: the question of definition and that of self-determination. So, a limited construction of the Caribbean, a limited definition, has it that the region is a group of, people that speak certain languages. Like, for example, people refer to the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, the French-speaking Caribbean, the Dutch-speaking Caribbean, the English-speaking Caribbean, for example. Um, in this course, will be taking a broader definition of the Caribbean. We'll be incorporating various countries within the definition of the Caribbean, looking at the Caribbean in a more dynamic and complex fashion. We'll be looking at the Caribbean region in terms of the Caribbean islands, as well as the Rimland countries as part of our area of definition. So, as I said, the term Caribbean conjures diverse meaning, and we are going to be examining the various definitions of the Caribbean as we go along. Needless to say, in spite of its small size, the Caribbean has had been one of the world's most strategic areas of the world. which often results in tragic consequences for the people who happen to live in these areas, beginning with the European exploration of the area and the genocidal results that this has entailed for the Caribbean indigenous people. And I always like to start off with examining the plight of the indigenous people. We have to understand that um, these people are still around to a certain extent in some territories, and that they did not, you know, disappear with the European um, attempted genocide. And we're going to be looking at evidence of the survival of the indigenous people, within this course of study. Um, so this is just a brief overview. There's a long established and deep two-way flow of influences between the Caribbean and North America, and we're going to be looking at how this interplays in terms of the importance of Caribbean studies. We, of course, are in the United States, and we cannot discuss the Caribbean in isolation of the United States. Just as a brief summary in terms of the relationship, the long-standing relationship between the Caribbean and the United States, the project of the American colonies was simultaneous with the British colonies of the Caribbean, and so there was a lot of exchange between the North American 13 North American colonies and the many Caribbean island colonies, in the southern part of the Americas. So people were brought back and forth. Many Caribbean people have had roots in the United States, and many people from the Caribbean were brought to the United States first. So there is this very close interconnection between North America and the Caribbean. George Washington's first travel outside of the United States was to Barbados in the 1700s to visit his brother. Alexander Hamilton was actually born on the tiny Caribbean island of Nevis, and the founder of Pennsylvania was a Quaker from Barbados. So this is very, very interesting to present, I believe, at the start to show why the study of Caribbean history is so important. Okay, so enjoy the readings, enjoy the class activities. Let's have fun.